Hello, welcome to Drinking with Comics. I'm Sean,
And I'm Mike.
and this is our Drunk on Energon. And while we will not be drinking Energon today, Mike, what will we be drinking?
Reef Knot, half from Half Acre, says summer beer, and it's still technically summer.
So Half
Yeah.
Acre is a Chicago beer, and it is still technically summer. We had a nice, here in Tennessee, we had like a week of fall. My brain switched, and then it was 99 degrees today. So a lager will come in quite handy at the moment. Oh,
Oh,
have you had this before?
no, I think I was waiting for you.
Same. So this
Ooh,
is another one that you gave me. So thank you.
sure.
I've been drinking a lot of lagers this year.
Oh,
That's good.
I'm still pouring.
I was thirsty as fuck.
I know I didn't drink anything all day because I was like, well, I had a little bourbon earlier, but I don't know why I thought this was gonna be like IPA-ish, but
No, happily it is not.
uh, I don't think I really paid attention. I just grabbed it. Oh, you know what? Now I remember this because I bought it like 3 or 4 months ago. I think I was at the liquor store and they were giving us of it,
Oh,
and I tried it and I was like, "Wow, this is good. I'm gonna buy this," because I was actually there buying us beer for this very program. And I remember the guy was like really nice and was like, "Here, try this," and I was like, "Cool, I will buy your beer." Oh yeah, I was like, "That's summery," and then I didn't drink any of it for the whole summer.
hmm. This may well be our last summer beer on this show. Um,
I'm sure we
also,
got something in there.
I have to say, well, I'm just saying because of the time of year. I have to say, I feel like it may well not be, while it might not be our last Drunk on Energon, I certainly see a leveling off of the Energon titles insofar as I don't know, like I guess me wanting to talk, not that I don't want to talk about them, but I don't, and I feel like we've talked about this off the show, and I think you feel the same way. Like, I mean, I'm definitely still digging it, but I don't feel the fervor I did when we started doing Drunk on Energon.
Yeah, it's this second year has not been as exciting as the first year.
Well, isn't it
Well, I guess
still the
technically,
first year? Because this is Void
yeah, yeah,
Rivals
it's
12,
second.
Transformers 12.
I guess quarter. What would you call that? Quarter
I mean,
the
this is
summer
definitely the
quarter.
beginning.
Yeah.
We're poised at the end of the first year. So I mean, the Scarlett series is gonna tie up, the Destro series is gonna tie up, and then we're gonna move into, from what we
GI
know,
Joe.
it'll be Void Rivals, Transformers, and then the G.I. Joe book.
Yes. I'm sure there's going to be a couple hidden mini series. I bet you they're going to do a Megatron mini series because he hasn't popped up yet.
Well, so Transformers 13, so next month's, it's the first of a two-part arc that's like this origin of Starscream or something.
Oh, really? I need to go
Yeah.
look.
Um, Also, I read something recently where Daniel Warren Johnson said he's basically going to stay. I think he said for 24 issues, and then he's going to bounce. So, no word on who will take up the realms. But so we got another year with him, and I'm not worried about the quality dropping. I
Well, I will say this: the one thing I was excited about mostly is that Joshua Williamson is doing GI Joe
Yeah.
because he's the guy that did Cobra Commander and Duke. So I've enjoyed his writing more than I've enjoyed the Scarlet and honestly the Destro. You know, I like Destro a lot. It's not as good as Cobra Commander was, or
Yeah. It's not. I am digging the Destro.
and I'm excited. I didn't even realize we have the poster here. I was want to talk about the poster, but it's actually in the latest issue of Transformers.
Oh yeah, so the poster that shows the GI Joe book, right, where it's the one side is
Yeah,
Cobra.
yeah. Because I wanted to go over like, ooh, who's the guy in the suit?
Uh, they mention him in a couple places now, and I don't remember where I saw the mention anymore. I forget the name of the character. He's a new character. Uh,
Okay.
I mean, it's the Joe team is interesting.
Well, the thing I
In
thought was interesting is there's no Scarlet.
okay, so this goes into my theory. Remember at the end, I think of the Duke series, where I think it was I forget if it was General Flag or General Hawk.
Yeah,
He mentions like, "Don't tell Duke we're like we have a second team or whatever it is." So I think the second team, because look, you don't see Scarlett, you don't see Snow Job, you don't see Jinx. Jinx may remain undercover, but
yeah.
I have a feeling so that's the explanation for why you don't see her in this picture is because she'll be on the other team.
Ooh, they'll bring back what was that other GI Joe title? Classifieds. Was that Classifieds? No.
Oh, special missions.
Special Missions. Because they
That
are a Special Missions team.
that was one in the 80s at the height of the GI Joe. I read like the first couple issues, but I never loved that book, and I it's just because it didn't keep up the continuity of the main title.
Yeah.
So, but I
I
read it
remember having a
periodically.
couple just been was kind of like, ugh. But when I was reading this as a kid, it was very much whatever issues I get my hands on or my mom would
Yeah,
buy. So it wasn't like I even had a vague idea what was going on story wise. It was just pick it up and like, oh, they're in the pit now, or
yeah,
like
yeah. Like I was the same way where I would have holes after a certain point. I made sure never to have a hole again. But yeah, early on it was like you get 44, you don't get 45, that kind of
yeah,
thing. I was like that a lot with the Transformers title that Bob Budiansky wrote for Marvel, where it was like because I had limited funds and I was like, I'm definitely buying GI Joe, and then there were other books, like okay, maybe I'll buy Transformers this month, maybe not. Who's on the cover? What's it look like inside?
well, I have a very different like I don't know. These weren't really as high end. I wasn't really a comic book reader when these that when I would have been picking up GI Joe and Transformers. It wasn't really like I am now, or as
Mm-hmm.
I would grow as a teenager. But I just remember it was just like, ooh, what is this character like? Or it was more the toy end on my end than it was
Yeah,
the
right, right.
yeah. Like, why have the
Definitely.
comic book when I could buy a figure?
Yeah, right. When you're a kid, especially in the 80s, comic books were like that, where it wasn't until you get a little bit older you become a comic reader as opposed to just like
Yeah,
you're buying it because it ties into a toy that you like, right?
yeah.
Let's start with Scarlet. Is that
Okay,
okay? So
yeah,
Scarlet 4, we've both made no bones about like we're reading this, it's fine. I'm not invested. I don't care. Um,
yeah.
this was the best issue of the series by far, in my opinion.
It did have a lot of payoff. I did like the fact that she actually talks to Jinx.
Yeah.
Um, very curious about that sword. But yeah, it
Yes.
was it was yeah, because I don't think we even discussed the third issue. Um,
I think we did.
that's how boring it was.
Yeah, I honestly, I mean, flashback to them drinking beers or being roommates,
Yeah,
her in a helicopter, her infiltrating their Rashikagi. I mean, I feel like the first three issues just could have been an issue.
yeah, I agree. Would have been a little more interesting or a little less. I don't know. Not my least. It's not my. Is it my least favorite book? I don't hate it, but it's probably my least favorite book. That makes
Yeah, I mean, that
sense.
doesn't mean you hate it. It
Yeah,
just means it doesn't rank
yeah.
up.
It's
Uh,
not ranking up.
one of the things about this book, I feel like this perfectly encapsulates the way I feel about this book. So if you go to a couple pages in, okay, where they get to, so Jinx, Storm Shadow goes to do whatever, and they get a moment where Jinx sets off like an EMP so that it blacks out all communications, and then they get to
Yeah.
hug and actually talk, right? There's this page where the bottom third is Jinx against the wall with like her hand like this, and Scarlett facing her talking to her, and Jinx is wearing fucking high heels on a ninja mission.
They're
And
her lucky high heels.
I'm just looking at it going, what?
Is it
Like
like high heels, like stiletto high heels? Like I don't have the book in front of me, so but is it like
it's high heels. It's definitely high
but
heels,
like
but they
high
have
heel
like
boots?
no, it's high heels. It's literally platform, but or not platform heels, but high heels. But it's got like these like
The ninja
weird
toes?
like ninja like yeah like
Because ninja shoes had the toe, so you have more mobility in it. I know, like
well they look like claws. I don't know. It's just
okay,
maybe, but even yeah, like there's a page of them crawling into this like vent or something, and it's you see her foot as she's going through it, and it's just like what's she wearing fucking high heels?
on a stealth. It's
Um,
not even like she was infiltrating either. It's just it's a straight up attack mission. She wasn't undercover.
I think this is what yeah exactly. I think this is what made this issue good for me, where they actually get there and it's like she's like, oh no, I think the Kagi should get this weapon because the alternative is Cobra. And Scarlett's like, what's Cobra? And she's like, it's something everybody in the free world is going to have to worry about. So I loved that. I loved seeing just one panel of two Cobra troopers. I thought that was really cool. And then I love at the end where Storm Shadow picks up the sword and like it's like Scarlett thinking something about that guy picking up that sword feels like a game changer and maybe not the one we're hoping for. That was cool. And then
Yeah.
next, Cobra Commander. Just I think it was just I think if next Cobra Commander had not been on the bottom of that final page, I might have felt the same about this issue that I did the others, maybe. But that like, he's showing up now because also we'll get to Destro when he shows up at the end, right?
Yeah.
But so now, what do you think of the Destro book and the little twist in there?
Oh, refresh my memory. What was the twist?
That you brought that character up, that rich bitch that he was talking to in one of the
Oh
previous
yeah.
is actually Chameleon. I was like, oh, okay, cool, well played.
Who is in this clearly in the Cobra poster here too.
Yes, yeah. So she's
So
obviously going to be well, and we called it that somebody like either Hawk or Flag was involved with Destro, and that's exactly what we find out, right?
yeah. Well, that makes sense. Destro has a military complex behind his back, no matter what country it is. So the
Yeah,
strongest
exactly.
one would be the one to go to. Uh, the only thing I didn't quite get was like she's got an EMP in her arm.
Yeah, I didn't get that either.
Like, is she like cyborg, which would make sense? Maybe she's a robot herself. That would be kind of interesting. But overall, just the EMP arm thing, kind of like I did like seeing Scrap Iron getting all excited about shooting her though.
I did too. I thought that was cool. I love scrap iron. So anytime they pop them up, even if it's just for a panel like that in the distance, I'm like, cool.
Yeah, who was in charge? Well, no, Declan.
Yeah. So that's interesting. The fact that the way it starts, it seems like, well, the way it starts with the twins basically petitioning him, like, look, we agree with Destro that if something happened, we'd take over, and now he's gone. And besides, you're also the ruler of this country now, and you can't be head of the. And so they leave it where there is no answer. And then at the end, it appears like he did actually they did get Mars, which I thought was very interesting. I don't think it'll last, obviously.
No, I
Um,
like that they were excited about the bats, and they found, oh no, they suck.
I was just going to say that was a very interesting twist on that.
I feel like that was in the file card of the bat too. If you like read it, it says like they tend to turn on each other.
Oh, that's interesting.
I could be wrong. Yeah,
You're
I
probably
could be
right.
wrong. But
The whole Project Overkill, because this, I feel like Overkill is a character.
I agree. There wasn't. Oh, there. So if I might be mistaken on this. I want to say there was the Overkill was the GI Joe character, and then there was also, and I'm probably wrong on this, but there was an Overkill Transformer too, like a Transformer named Overkill. Like they used the name on both.
Overkill was an experimental prototype of the Bat with an advanced computer system and tactical logic programs. So it was. So they've. I like the way they've altered it to where it's a satellite, but I'm assuming at some point we're going to see like the robot. The satellite like can also control a robot that could then be like its
Yeah,
boots on the ground, right?
but what if it turns into a Transformer too, being like they tied in both into one?
I think we're
If
gonna get
if I'm
some of
not,
that. I feel like even the way they're treating the bats, they're a little like they're all flying all the time. Like in that
yeah.
poster, you see them and they don't even have jetpacks on. They're just like propulsion coming out of the bottom of their boots. So
You know what I like about that? That's where the peg holes are.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I feel like one of the writers when he had played with his toys, he was like, "Oh, those are rockets."
yeah. This book, I agree. I liked a lot of what Dan Waters does, and I think this is a good book. Here's the thing. I just think Cobra Commander was so fucking good, and Duke was also very good, but also because it was timed with Cobra Commander, I just
Yeah,
feel like that was just like man, I don't know that we're gonna reach that level again until maybe things really get moving.
yeah, because I liked it really kind of like this conspiracy theory about the Transformers. And now he was still in the dark, even though he was uncovering stuff. And I like how Cobra Commander like really kind of explored the world almost, because he's hitting the dreadnoughts, he's hitting Cobra Law, he's doing various uncovering things. But yeah, outside of Destro is a little bit more on the business end, but doesn't feel like a thing. And Scarlett's just boring ninjas,
Yeah, I gotta say
boring ninjas.
the ninja aspect is the least interesting. Which
So
I just
80s.
well, I mean, but also like I said last time, like the way they did it in Hamas is just so good that I just almost feel like just don't bother with the fucking character. Even the IDW book, like I didn't give a shit about Snake Eyes or Storm Shadow in that book at all. That's why I
Yeah,
only read the Cobra files and the all the iterations of the Cobra books because I was far more interested in that end. And I remember they gave Snake Eyes his own title where it's like, oh, so you've got G.I. Joe, Cobra, and a Snake Eyes book? Like, give me a fucking break, man. So yeah, it is some pretty boring ninja stuff. And well, it's '80s, but I mean, I'll throw on the Octagon or American Ninja every now and again and
yeah.
remember how cool the ninjas were in the '80s. But
Or it was just called that one movie. I think it was just called Ninja, wasn't it?
yeah, there was Ninja,
Ninja
yeah,
One, Ninja Two, and Ninja
Ninja
Three.
3, Void Rivals.
Okay, that was another one I was a little let down by. I was more excited about the panel with like the upcoming next issue Cobra La hint than
Yes,
I was that like outside of, or well, I mean that was the prime, not Primus, but their Transformer god.
not Primus, but well, the last page to me intimates Unicron.
I didn't get Unicron. I think it's the one they're always talking about. The because Unicron would have horns. I got a very feminine robot feel from this one, and I think the quintessence keep mentioning her name. I think it's that one.
Oh,
Vox
Zert,
Zeta.
Zert. Yeah.
Zeta Prime or
Zerta.
I think it's another, like Primus is um sometimes traditionally in Transformer more, I think lore, Primus is Cybertron. Unicron is the antithesis, the evil
Okay.
Tron, who's a planet, and then I'm assuming there's a third one, which would be the female one that in Transformers on her planet, she created the Void Rivals guys fighting all the time. And she won't awake unless they touch, if enough of them touch their heads together, maybe. I don't know.
Oh, that's interesting.
They have a child. I didn't quite get what Kirkman was going with that, but it wasn't. Um, that is what I got from it, anyways. That's probably at the center of the void, in the middle of the ring, is a
Uh,
prison that holds
got it.
um, the Transformer, who is Zertak, Zeta,
Zerta.
Zenith, Zenith.
Zerta.
Maybe each one of them has a key. In order to keep her prison, they stop the two races, stop talking to each other because they're the keys, and if the keys come together,
That's what it
she
is.
becomes free.
That's totally what it is.
Yeah,
So I'm curious though, does that mean that like maybe it's a destructive force and what our two main characters don't realize is that they think it's been like a bad thing to be kept apart, and they may find out like, no, you fools, we did it because it seems like it could go something like that.
yeah. Like,
Um,
oh, we have to stay apart.
yeah,
This is why we hate each other. This is why we don't. That makes sense.
wow, I didn't get that, but I think you're exactly right as far as like in the center of the void. I mean, they show it to you. I just wasn't really sure what I was supposed to be looking at here.
Yeah, because it's very vague. It's like all of a sudden, it turns its head and kind of winks at you almost
Well, it's like it
after
opens
they
its eyes
kiss.
and then it closes them
Yeah,
again.
yeah. So maybe
Uh,
they just gotta like touch heads more.
Good to see Suckoid again. And this other
Old Suckoid.
Lord Gasani, this super fat dude with the huge eyebrows. It's like if you step foot on Monicus ever again, blah blah blah. I feel like we've seen this guy before too in the cartoon, but I could be wrong. He's an
Could
ugly
be.
motherfucker. He looks like he should be hanging out at the cantina in Moss Isley. That leaves us Transformers number 12. This is the best of the four titles this month, simply in my opinion, because um and I love Shockwave, man. I fucking love him. So I hate to say it because he's dead. Like I'm pretty sure there's not no coming back from this, but I thought that the scene where Prime crushes his fucking head was awesome.
Yeah, he really got dark there. So do you think Prime getting dark is because he's 1/4 Megatron?
Oh, I hadn't thought that. Well, he has the flashes to the baby, which is still somehow related to Spike or Sparkplug or whatever the fuck the old man that walked into the Matrix, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Shockwave's pretty dumb. Like, Prime blows his fucking arm completely off, and he still runs at him. It's like, what did you think you were going to do with one hand and no weapon?
Yeah, you lost your gun arm, buddy. He did seem a little bit more mad scientisty in
Yes,
this than he is in other things.
he's like their Dr. Mindbender.
Kinda, yeah.
Ooh, now see, what if in the GI Joe book somebody cuts off Dr. Mindbender's head and then his head ends up on Shockwave's body? It'd be fucking crazy.
Well, I mean, uh, do they keep their brains in their heads? 'Cause, I mean, they're robots, it's not like they have.
Yeah, that's a good
I mean,
point.
if you cut off his head, he's probably still fine. I mean, they'll just have a transformer that turns into his head.
Yeah.
He'll be a
Oh,
headmaster.
headmasters, nice. Well,
Yeah, there you
I would
go.
like to see. While I'm all for fatalities in this book, because it'll remind me of the original Marvel comic where they clearly had so many characters because it was basically an advert for the toys every month that they would introduce people, characters, and kill them by the end of the issue. So I'm all for
Yeah.
fatalities, lasting fatalities, but And if Shockwave's dead, he's dead. That's fine. It was a good run. But if they brought him back like that, that would be kind of cool.
He did kill a bunch of whales.
Yeah, he did.
I also
Oh,
enjoyed he had his little plastic flip up target on gun mode.
yes, yes, that was so cool. Yeah, when Soundwave is wielding him. I also like the thing where Alita 1 basically totally bullshits Prime and like I never set the explosions and fuck yeah, I'm gonna use all this energy that they just stole from the Earth. What the fuck are you talking about? Like we need like now, just like with G.I. Joe and Cobra, we're getting factions within factions, right? So it's
Yeah.
like all the Autobots are not just like, okay, whatever Optimus says and we'll all be good to humans. Like, nope. So I mean,
Well,
I,
also like, okay, so am I wrong? Like, so Optimus Prime blew up all that energy?
you know what? I was going to ask you the last like the denouement of this issue. I don't know what the fuck happens at all. I literally
Yeah.
am like I don't know what I have no idea what happens.
So he kind of shoots. I get the vibe that there's all this Energon. He shoots it. Why are you shooting it? I mean, like, okay, it's from a bunch of dead whales. I get that. It's not the best thing, but it's like, it's food, technically, right? Like, okay, if the people are starving and the corn came from the bad guys, I'm still not going to burn the corn and make everyone
Yeah.
starve because
Well, then
it's
the sacrifice is
morally
wasteful.
immorally garden. Yeah, the whole thing's just kind of wasteful. He had the you're not bringing back the whales by doing this. So I kind of didn't understand, like, what the fuck, Prime? Why you gotta be such a jag?
Yeah, I don't know if that's what happened. Also, what the fuck? Where did all this shit was for? What the fuck is the red transformer that Carly tries to save?
Cliff jumper.
Cliff Jumper, where the fuck does he go? Optimus Prime ends up falling through space, and Beachcomber on Silver Surfer's surfboard picks him up along the way, which I thought was
Did
I could
he
have done
go
without
back?
that. I thought that was idiotic. I mean, I was just like, come on, really? What the fuck is this?
June. Okay, yeah, there he is.
He just you just don't see him.
Yeah, he just kind of disappeared. He tosses him in there.
Tosses him where I don't even know. Like
He's in his
again,
arms, and then like he's gone.
I just cannot tell what exactly happened. I feel like all the pacing and the storytelling in the art in this, and I'm not the art's great. I love it, but something happened here in the production of this book where I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if he blew it up. I don't know where Beach because also it shows that panel after he looks like he shoots. Like they have the close up of his arm cannon firing, but we
Yeah.
don't actually see what the fuck it hits. Then we see three panels of the three of them, Alita One Prime and Cliff Jumper,
Oh
like
yeah,
as
there
if
he is. He's
yeah, but what like they're caught in a blast, and then you get a panel of which shows me literally what am I looking at? And then
yeah,
she's laying on the ground.
yeah. So I'm assuming they blew it up. But yeah, he is. Where is? Yeah, you got a point. Where's Cliff Jumper?
I just I thought I don't know the end of this book was just a complete mess in my opinion, and
Yeah, I felt that too because it's kind of like he comes up and like I didn't quite get the waterfall. Like, so the water's coming up to Cybertron, and
I I don't know.
Beachcomber rides that wave. Um, there's, and then yeah, a chunk of Cybertron falls on the Earth. And
No,
I'm like,
that's
what
isn't
have
that
I
the
done?
Nemesis? Or
Oh,
no?
I thought that was Cybertron. I thought
I
that was
did too at
the.
first, but then I was like, wait, no, maybe that's but that's the thing. Like, I don't know. So creative team, please next issue clarify this because I literally like I don't know. I don't know. And this is the end of the arc, so they probably are not going to.
No,
Um,
it's I didn't like the second arc as much as the first arc. I think that's another problem I have with this.
I think I like the second arc better overall because all the shockwave and like
Well, I
I
mean,
don't
I dig Shockwave too, and there's points where it's like I like the
well
fact that like, oh, look at the beautiful whales and took it in a blender, but at the same time, like it's just not that. It didn't feel like it was moving the story at all. I don't. I'm pretty positive we'll never hear about Cybertron coming into as far as like GI Joe going like, hey, remember when there was a chunk of another planet in our atmosphere for like 5 minutes?
yeah,
Um,
I know what you mean there.
and there's a lot happening here on a global scale in the ocean that there should be more.
It should
Like
tie
this is
into
an
the other
event that,
books.
yeah, and I'm probably sure it probably will in the future. But yeah, you're right. When you get into this whole like, what am I looking at in the last 10 pages? Um, because it took me a minute to realize he fell through the portal too when I first read this.
Hmm.
Like that. Um, what was it that he was he already over there? Um, yeah, it took me a minute to realize that Devastator tossed Cliffjumper in there. Like, what is Cliffjumper doing there? Oh, because Devastator threw him through the hole.
Oh, right, right.
Yeah, and then you had like um them blasting away at them. But yeah, he uses I didn't even like that's the thing I didn't even notice is he uses Megatron's gun to blast the Energon where he before he was using his other cannon. And I kind of want to see him like I don't know if I've seen this in the series or not. I could be mistaken. I'm sure it's popped up already, but you know, him using both guns at the same time.
Yeah.
I know that's silly, but it's like
No, not really. I don't think it's silly.
where's the gun ho Optimus Prime with like even having like both guns in the same hand, like
Right, right. Yeah, which is technically very possible.
yeah,
Um,
there it is. He uses it here too. It's I don't know. I skipped this page. Maybe that all makes sense because I skipped this page.
I doubt it. I I liked the second arc better than the first because of bringing Cybertron into it, because of Shockwave, because of the Combaticons, because of Astro Train. Like it felt more. The Transformers are the least interesting to me when they're just Earthbound. So
I
this
agree.
this
I
you know got us away
to
from that. It brought it to a grander scale.
to me, I like the fact that like it was a resource war. People were dying. Not everyone could
Yeah,
get up and get back. There's not that much of this in here. And this one's just like, oh, here's some characters.
yeah.
um, here's Ultra Magnus out of nowhere. Although, technically we saw Ultra Magnus show
Well,
up. But
then,
I
dude, that was the
mean,
other thing. It's like I had to. When I picked this issue up, I was like, "Wait, where the fuck did Ultra Magnus go?" I forgot he ran away at the end of the
yeah,
last issue. Like, and I understand they're supposed because it's like the horror of being faced with this torturer again. But I'm like,
yeah,
man, this is a different version of him than I've ever seen before. Uh,
yeah. It's just I don't like. To me, I think I like the first arc better than the second arc.
Fair enough.
Yeah, this Scarlett and Destro honestly, and is why it's been kind of a boring later quarter. Is quarter correct?
Yeah,
Um,
that's fine. Well, we really well, yeah, because what? So we've done four months of Destro and Scarlet now,
yeah.
and so
If
the
you're
last
counting,
quarter was
yeah.
Duke
If
and
we're
Cobra Commander.
counting, yeah. Um, but yeah, this last story arc, the what would be volume 2 of Transformers, what would be volume, just isn't really grabbing, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be happy to have it down to 3 books for a while. Transformers, Void
Yeah.
Rivals, GI Joe. That's cool. That's low maintenance.
Well, it's not even so much like the having less books helps. I feel like just like maybe the problem with this book is that it's just too much happening in one book.
Well, so that is going to end up being a problem for GI Joe for sure.
Yes, and I think it's a problem with this too. Is like,
You've
so
said
you
that
have
before.
what,
I agree.
20 pages of comic. That's 10 pages per. If you want to split it evenly, that's 10 pages per character per side,
Yeah.
and that's not a lot. You could tell a lot in a story like that, but the way they set up panels these days, it's 5 panels in a page, so it's not like you
Yeah.
get a lot of story out of that, compared to like older comics where you would tell a 5 page story with like, 10 panels per page. You could really tell more story. The fact that the panels are bigger now, which isn't as much of a gripe as I'm trying to make it out to be. I mean, you like
Well,
art's like 90% of this stuff, but
yeah.
it does stifle the storytelling sometimes.
Well, when you have this large, I mean, because think about it. So I find myself wondering with GI Joe how it's going to go because and maybe it's just because they started so large with,
Hmm.
two titles, right? Um,
Yeah.
and now everything's going to have to be shrunk down into one. And I do find myself wondering how's that going to work, but also like it worked fine in Hama's original run when it was at its best. But also, like you said, it was different and they hadn't started like this. So I don't know. It'll
Yeah. When you
really,
read those original comics, there was probably 2, 3, 4 more pages, probably. As a 24 issue
no, it was
comic.
22. It was 22.
22?
And
Okay.
yeah. And
And now it's 20, so that's a difference. And then there's panels were different back then than they are now.
yeah,
Like a
you're 100%
panel,
correct about that.
a comic book's, a page has 6 panels on it. Back then they would tell you 12 to tell. I mean, some of them would just be little basic.
Yeah, right, right. Head
Um,
squares basically for dialogue or
yeah,
something.
yeah. You don't
Well,
get head squares for dialogue anymore.
well, so I have been since it came back. I've been reading Hama's Real American Hero, and I hadn't read it like we talked about. I hadn't read it since like let's say issue 119 or something. So like still
Okay.
like 1991, and so for right now they're doing a thing where it's basically they're kind of recreating the vibe of the original Cobra Island, the Cobra Civil War from like the I think it was like 70s of the original run. And
Okay.
like I think 74, 75, 76, 77, and one of the best arcs ever in that title. And they're doing a similar thing where it's like kind of a battle for Springfield, but you've got Cobra Commander's troops, you've got Serpentor Khan's troops, which are all mutated. Then you've got this AI, I forget the name of it, and it has troops. And then you've got Joe, like not engaged in this, but like infiltrating it for information or whatever for some agenda. And then you've got Zartan representing a Destro. So you've got all these factions in that, and there's a ton going on in the book, and every issue is like pretty solid. Like I feel like he divides it well. But the thing is, Hama's been telling this story set up like this for decades, and I don't know. It's not a knock on Daniel Warren Johnson or Kirkman or Kelly Thompson or Dan Waters or Joshua
No.
Williamson, but I don't. Like you said, comics are different now, and so I don't know
And
how they're
does he
going to
still
fit all of this.
do? I haven't read that, but I think I feel like his panels are a little more like old school panels in there, aren't they?
It's a
Or
well, no, it's pretty comparable actually. It's pretty comparable.
okay,
Um, but it's very comparable. But it's the other thing, like the story is very strong and it just pulls you through it. So I mean, I don't even look at the art so much as it just the art. I've always said this about comics. Like the art to me, I'm not against the art. I like art, whatever. But a lot of times, if I like a comic, bad, like quote unquote bad, or like art that other people are like, you like that? I'm like, to me, the art isn't about, oh my God, that's a great drawing. It's cool if it is,
yeah,
but it's like the art can tell me Cobra Commander walks in the room, picks up the gun, and puts it behind his back. without the text having to, right? So I'm
Yes.
looking at it as an extension of the storytelling as opposed to, and I feel like not like these comics aren't doing that. The only, I mean, I feel like Rob Liefeld's probably the best example of somebody that doesn't do that at all because every page is like a splash page or some
Yeah.
dramatic whatever. But there's elements of that in these other books, in these Energon books. But I don't know. I don't know what this is going to look like as far as going forward, but we'll see. I mean, I'm definitely interested to see, and I think it'll be good. I don't think it'll be
Yeah.
bad. I don't know that they'll capture the fervor that they had those first 5 months.
Yeah. I'm curious to. I'm excited to see where it goes. Don't I mean, Baroness is a good guy.
I'm kind of already sick of
Uh,
seeing that. Maybe it's because I like seeing her in the tight black leather instead of this stupid fucking suit. I don't know, but
like a green tight leather now with a blue
I,
star.
I don't know. That suit looks pretty dumb.
I'm intrigued
Um,
by it.
I
I'm
mean, I'm definitely
yeah.
intrigued by it.
And the
I'm
guy
really,
holding the shotgun, I'm very intrigued by too. I'm also very excited that it's Clutch Rock and Roll Stalker, like the
yeah, agreed.
original 13, as I like to call it. So it's very toned back. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven characters in the show on their side. Um, that's a basic X-Men team right there. And then you
Yeah,
got one, two, three, four, five bad guys, six if you count Zomax and Sandman as two different people. I also like there's a big robot hand right here.
yeah. So I was going to ask, what does that look like? It could be anybody in particular.
This tells me Megatron, if anything, but I mean, technically that arm's on Optimus Prime.
So the hand definitely looks like it could be Megatron. I think it's probably just like a general.
Yeah, it could be any. It's just a robot hand. I don't think it was meant to be anything other than, hey, look, we tie in the same universe, guys.
Yeah. I am very excited about Rock and Roll Clutch and Stalker though, and CoverGirl too. Like she's a character I
Yeah,
always thought was cool and doesn't get enough play. So I'm glad that she's on the team, and they reference her directly as far as building tanks, which I thought was cool because she came with a tank originally. I think that's why I
yeah,
never had the figure because I didn't have the vehicle she came with.
yeah. She was one of the few female characters that came with a vehicle, which you didn't get a lot of. A, you didn't get a lot of female characters, and B, she came with a vehicle.
Yeah.
um, yeah,
Uh, I I'm definitely excited for the Pythona, the Void Rivals 13 with the Cobra Law. I think I'm very, very looking forward to that. That's probably the
yeah.
book I'm most looking forward to.
That was definitely when I got to the end of that. I was like, "Woo!" Excitement of honestly kind of a slightly, like I said, boring, not exciting 6 months for me.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. Skybound. Maybe make your Transformer books make more sense.
I mean, right now, I still am digging. Like if I
No,
was
there's
gonna,
no part of me going like I hate this. There's no part of
no,
me that doesn't
I
want to
know.
pick up the next issue. There's no part of me that's like. There's just a part of me that's like, ooh, the. I guess the honeymoon's over on this.
Yeah, the honeymoon's kind of over.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But there's other things that we can talk about. And so, while I'm not
Hmm.
saying we will still cover the Energon titles. I don't know that we'll be like we'll probably I don't know. We'll figure out. Like Mike and I have talked about maybe just like doing this where we've kind of done this show now once a month basically.
Yeah.
Um, so we may keep doing that, or we may just make it a feature and like, okay, time for Drunk on Energon. Boom, 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 done. Okay, next. You know.
Yeah. Our whole Zartan thing.
I was
Drunk
just
on
thinking,
energy. We'll have to come up with like an Irish jig.
oh,
Drunk on energy.
don't be drinking the Energon, you cunt. It's my Energon.
Don't be
Uh,
touching my lucky energons.
oh, ooh. Uh,
Ooh.
well, okay. So drunk on Energon, and yeah, I'm I'm feeling I'm feeling though I'm sober, even though I'm drinking the Soundgarden line, or like I'm looking California, feeling Minnesota. That's kind of how I'm feeling. I'm feeling Minnesota about Energon, but you know, whatever. It is what it is. I still dig it, like you said. I don't hate it by any stretch, but honeymoon's over, and we'll talk about these again, but we'll talk about other shit before then.
Yeah,
So
because there's an exciting world of other stuff to talk about.
exactly. So
Yes.
all right, but until those other things happen, I'm Sean,
Now, Mike.
and it's Drinking with Comics. Hi, I'm Sean. Join me and my friends every week for the Horror Vision, where we talk about horror movies.